Hello, Namaskar, this is Gilles Morcillon. I am guided to come to you today to continue my discussion, and today I thought I discussed the path of the Buddha, but since we are about to celebrate his anniversary as a Wesak. It is a time of celebration where the Buddha comes back into the world, and so you might have felt some like people are more stable, more calm around for a few days. It is part of this invisible presence, invisible energy. And so I'm just asking you if you can at all avoid killing insects or cutting trees for a few days. That would nature will be grateful of that, and during this celebration it is mostly appreciated, as it is always. But we do have to when you're gonna cut a tree, you gotta ask the tree, tell the tree and give it a few minutes before you actually cut it, so it has the time to react and withdraw its life force. If you're gonna cut a branch or something, the trees are living beings. Yes, but in terms of the Buddha is a prototype of ascended consciousness that came into the world to teach compassion, and so he did. Most of all that he taught was about connecting to the inner self, and so if you're already very advanced in Buddhist practices, I recommend you may be interested in looking into the spiritual school of Nanbin, the esoterical school of Buddha, which is the science of Vovi. The method is, I'm sure, can be found in the internet. It's a very simple method, but it requires years. It is to master it because it requires a lot of discipline to go through the exercises, but it's very powerful. And essentially, if you want to follow the way of Buddha and his ascension, there is 3 deeds that needs to be accomplished. And the 3 deeds, the first one is lucidity. Lucidity is about embodying the light. It is about how to cultivate the lucidity. Well, we do that through invocation, through prayer, and through meditation. Essentially, every morning, every night, you should set aside 20 minutes to calm yourself, to breathe, to observe your thoughts and emotions. And you may stay a little bit longer, because once you get comfortable inside of you doing that, you will kind of look forward to those times. It is also the time where you shut out all the senses, and you turn them towards the inside so that they may regenerate themselves and they're no longer distracted by those outer things, because the senses are need this reinforcement every day. So meditation will bring more light into the physical body and into the consciousness, and so it is very important that those 3 deeds may be practiced each and every day. So the first one is lucidity, and the more we get one, the more we get the others, and so they kind of reinforce each other, and so it makes sense. The second aspect is the deed of compassion. Compassion is service to others, is service to mankind, service to the planet, and it is also discovering the essence of love. Love is an incredible, indescribable force. But the most important is that it is a force that not only makes you feel good and make others feel good, but it is also the closest vibration that resembles Source, resembles God. God is its primal essence is love, and so the more we vibrate at the frequency of love, the easier it is to harmonize with all those divine forces that are everywhere present. But it's subtle sometimes. So we got to cultivate those. The more compassion we have, the more lucidity naturally will emerge into our consciousness. And so the third of the 3 deeds is the realization of the courage. The word courage. Courage in spiritual ascension has to manifest in relation to the perfection of one's character. We all have flaws. We all have strengths, weaknesses, and so we want to increase our strengths, diminish our weaknesses each and every day, and finding ways to better ourselves in every way possible. So, because cleverness is no substitute for character. Character is a lot more than just being intelligent. And so, by looking into ourselves rather than pushing the fault on someone else, it's always like try to find the fault in yourself in order to correct it, because you can never correct someone else's fault, but you can correct your own. And so it is very important. The more courage you will have, the more natural compassion will expand out of you, it will be natural to serve, and the more lucidity will naturally emerge. So those 3 deeds are very, very powerful. Of course, God is infinitely courageous, infinitely compassionate and infinitely lucid. So eventually, well, we move from impure to the pure, but eventually we'll move into the whole frequency spectrum, so we'll be able to see the whole thing. Then I like to discuss greed, stupidity, anger, and sexuality as it relates to the Buddha. Those are essential part of our nature. There is no extinguishing those things. It's part of our nature. So what is greed? Greed essentially is cupid desire. Things with desire. We cannot extinguish that. It's just that in human society we have cupid desire. We have desires for impure things. When the Buddha discovered that he turned his greed, his cupid desire, towards the light. So he became greedy for light, greedy for consciousness, greedy for love, greedy for higher love, for compassion, and so it became a lot. It became a lot more. His whole desire was just for spiritual ascension, which nurtured itself into what it became. And so it is very important to always try to see that everything has two sides, and there is always a refined side and a more less refined side. So then stupidity is blind passion, and so we all are blindly passionate by so many things, but in human society we have those passions. We are passionate for impure things. When the Buddha becomes passionate for serenity, the ability to just be happy in his own light, and so he developed that. And then when it comes to anger, when we're angry, we have a tendency to respond with even more violence to whatever has hurted us or is attacking us or aggressing us, and so it makes the situation more and more impure the more people feed into those energies. But when somebody makes the Buddha angry, the Buddha would just breathe and just send light to the person that made him angry by compassion, and so he enlightened the person just to show the error of the way that the person, or the energy that the person directed to the Buddha. So it is a way that the Buddha has found to not only protect himself against anger, but help others in the same process. And then when the Buddha, well, I just want to say that those aspects can be like cupid desire, avidity. When you speak about God is infinitely cupid. He possesses everything, the pure, the impure, everything is within his possession, and so there is nothing beyond that. So those can be eventually expanded into infinity as well. The same thing with blind passion. Our Creator loves everything. Of course, He wants us to remove ourselves from the impure in order to reach the pure, from the sorrow to the joy. But when it comes to spiritual exploration, everything is being explored. There is no such a thing. Both the pure and the impure is explored by the Spirit, otherwise they wouldn't exist. So, and the same thing with anger. In order to create this incredible chaos, although God's compassion and is very the way He administers all this, but sometimes God can get angry, not in a sense of human sense, is not, but He wants us to progress. So the law of evolution is sometimes just pushing us in a way that we don't always. And this is part of what you might see, that God could get angry with you if you keep going backwards, for instance. But it's not. God is eternal, so He's patient with all of us. And then finally, sexuality. Sexuality, when the Buddha renounced mortal sexuality, it's not that he renounced sexuality altogether. It's just that he has discovered within himself a way to exploit sexuality thousands and thousands of times more. So he enjoys pleasure that are thousands and thousands of times more refined, more powerful, more divine than what we may come to discover with human sexuality. And so what he did is that he discovered how to unify the divine masculine and the divine feminine, the soul and the astral body, together, and so they could meet and connect, unite, and within the Buddha, those principles are never separated. That's why the Buddha is always ecstatic, always in bliss, is because he's got this incredible energy that is united, connected inside of him. And so it is also about cultivating the seminal essence, to make it vital essence, to transcend it into spiritual essence, and the fusion of those three energies. Those are advanced form of beyond Tantra. Advanced practices will eventually is like a shortcut to the spiritual path, because it accelerates the whole process of eternalization of the soul. And so, but you know, sexuality is such a vast theme. I'm sure we'll be talking about it. Many people now, and I'd like to finish this. This little communication by commenting on a painting that I made a long time ago in 1989, and it says, in meditation, do not imagine anything, do not think nothing, do not analyze, do not reflect, do not meditate. Keep your spirit in its most natural state. The focused attention without distraction is the way followed by all Buddhas. Voilà. I hope you find this video interesting. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave them comment, and I'll do my best to answer. Namaste.